Welcome to another episode of Sister Saga. Maria, what does the second law tell us?
Yes, be wary of friends. They will betray you more quickly, for they are easily aroused to envy. They also become spoiled and tyrannical. But hire a former enemy, and he will be more loyal than a friend, because he has more to prove. In fact, you have more to fear from friends than from enemies. If you have no enemies, find a way to make them. So, Angeliki, what does the history tell us?
So the first example comes from the Byzantine Empire, where the emperor was Michael III. Michael was a really young emperor, so at some point he had to choose a really experienced right hand for him, let's say. So he had two options. The first one was Bardas, his uncle, who was really experienced and a really experienced general. And the second option was Basilius, who was his best friend. And as you can imagine, Maria, he chose his best friend. Basilius, he was really inexperienced. However, he got used of the job. At some point, though, he was asking even for more, and he became really ambitious. And not only that, he did something else, which is interesting now to see what happened to Bardas.
Basilius was getting all of this power, as you said. And then at some point, I guess he wanted to see what is his way into being an emperor. The first thing was for him to take out Michael's uncle, Bardas. So what he did is he starts saying to Michael that Bardas, wants to take your position and he wants to kill you. So at the end, he persuaded Michael to kill his uncle. And by that, he opened his way to the throne. And what happened at the end is very interesting. So, Angeliki, what happened?
Michael asked back the money that Basilius had borrowed.
Over the years, right?
Over the years, yeah. Yes. And Michael actually thought that his best friend will give back the money, obviously. Yeah, not at all. His best friend, Basilius, he laughed and he never gave back the money. And actually, during the night, Michael was sleeping and Basilius, with an army behind him, he actually killed the Emperor Michael III in his sleep.
Okay, what about a different perspective of this law, a different mindset?
So the second example comes from China around 222 AD, where the pattern was that a new general became an emperor and he was surrounded by other generals, but at some point the generals would kill the new emperor. Then another leader would actually become an emperor. He would be surrounded by generals and again then the generals would kill him during his reign. And this was like a vicious circle. This was happening a lot until a new emperor came, who was the emperor's son. He knew the pattern. So he was really...
So he knew he's gonna be killed.
Exactly. He knew he's gonna be killed. He organized the party and he invited all the generals of his army. And he started giving a speech. And he told everyone that he knows that the majority of the generals would kill him at some point in the future. So instead of him being afraid during his reign, and the others struggling and trying to get the throne and get the power back, he actually had a different proposal. He gave them a choice, either to resign, and the emperor would give them money, property, everything they needed for an amazing life, or they could just carry on living these lives of struggle and suspicion and fear, so on and so forth. So he gave them a specific way out, and obviously they all retired at the end. They got the money and they let him alone.
Let's discuss a little bit the learnings now. Angeliki, what has stuck with you?
What has stuck with me is how friendships work. So the author says that friends avoid argument because they don't want to be in this uncomfortable position of arguing with their best friends.
And if we think about personal examples, to be honest, there are many cases where there was something wrong happening with your friend and you didn't really want to have this difficult conversation. I think it starts from the fact that we're afraid or not trained enough to do these uncomfortable discussions.
Yes, exactly. Which is really interesting because you think that you feel comfortable doing a really uncomfortable discussion with your friends, but you want at the same time to avoid the argument.
This means that if you find a friend that is very honest with you, tells you everything that is actually painful, honest, I would say
Keep
you should
him.
keep him.
The second thing that stuck with me is friends at work, which was also very interesting. It's interesting because he said that if you hire a friend, at some point he will feel a little bit incompetent and guilty because he is in this position, not because he deserves this position, but because of the favor you gave to him.
Another thing that I read is your boss is not your friend. So your boss is a person at work who you open up, you share all your needs and all your plans and where to want to go ahead, and you ask for help and advice and consultation, and you connect with this person. So this connection, then you feel that you have a friend or a person who can help you, assist you, or have your best benefit at heart. But it's a difficult situations that you see if this person will prove wrong or right for you. And with an example, in the technology sector, there were a lot of layoffs, and there were a lot of people who got laid off unexpectedly. And the communication from the manager was a very blank statement. Thank you for your work, but we have to let you go. But we have your best interests at heart. And what happened? Then the person is, okay, so how are you going to help me? And then there was nothing. Even a post in LinkedIn about, hey, I work with this person. He's great or she's great. Can you help him find a job if you have an opening or something like that?
No, I think that you're always unconsciously, probably, you put a boundary in your relationship with your boss. He's a person that you're going to open up about probably anything. However, unconsciously, I think you always put a boundary in what you're going to tell him.
It's also different sectors. Maybe this comes from your experience versus mine, in which you usually look up to the people who you are managed by. And this means that you are building an admiration kind of relationship. You admire them, you want to be like them. So when things don't go well, you expect them to behave to the standard you had in your mind about them. And then when they fail to achieve the standard or what you thought you could get, then this is where the break in the relationship happens.
Yeah, that's interesting. What else did you like from this law, Maria?
Yes, so long story short is never expect anything from your friends. So if you do a favor, don't expect anything back. Do it because you want to do it, and never expect anything. And in that case, you'll be pleasantly surprised.
So Maria, what else did you like from this law?
So, personal example is that I create a lot of initiatives at work, and I have to build teams to bring people with me to build this together. By default, my mind will go to the people I like working and the people I know and I feel comfortable with. But I think that is not the right tactic. I think I should really prioritize the success of the project and think who are the people who can actually deliver.
Who got the skills to do what you want them to do.
Yes. This is a thing I have to learn as well. It's not that easy to switch mindsets. Another thing that I kind of really empathized with from personal experience again is things happen at work, right? You will have conflicts with people. You make enemies, right? But I would give these second chances. Based on what we learned from this chapter, I think you should really give a second chance to your enemies, hoping that they will prove you wrong, right? So you'll give them a second chance so that they can prove their real abilities and who they really are. And the last thing is, if you want to build enemies at work, make sure you choose your battles. Just go and create enemies everywhere. Choose your battles in a nice, clever way, intelligent way. And another thing that really stuck with me was, if it's not easy to make enemies, because it's not that easy to make the enemies, we don't just go and create conflict out of nowhere. Choose some people that you inside you, they make you feel jealous. Now, if they make you feel jealous for any reason, they do something very well. So put them in the position of the enemy, like think of them as the enemy without them really being an enemy openly, and try to see what they're doing right. Try to copy and follow and learn from them. That I really liked.
Yes, you challenge yourself when someone challenges you at the same time, because you need to push yourself to become better. Yes. But this kind of unconscious competition that happens can be really, really good for you.
Yes. What about you?
I really like the last sentence of this law, which I will read. Nothing is stable in the realm of power, and even the closest of friends can be transformed into the worst of enemies. So, technically, what we have said, if you are a friend, be always conscious and be always mindful. But when power comes in this path, probably the friendship would change, but have that in your mind.